It's Ian Benjamin. I'm back, and I am delighted to have or to welcome Phillip Sewell as my guest. For you guys that don't know Phillip Sewell is a guru within the digital transformation sector, but from a retail and e-commerce perspective. And he's earned his stripes before getting into that new glamorous role, if you like. And he kind of earned his stripes back in the day as a developer. We'll talk about that as well in a few minutes. And in a dotcom bubble, and then develop those skills as well as technical development skills, but also from a change process and having a love and passion for technology. And so he then systematically grew into this role and having that skill set from a digital transformation perspective. But his career from a DT perspective, Kingfisher, part of B&Q, M&S, Channel 4, massive project then came along later on with Arcadia that we all know very, very well. So his specialism is retail and e-commerce. So he's a digital transformation expert, if you like, within the retail and e-commerce sector. So what I want to do as well to kind of just help give you guys a bit of an understanding of Phillip is to read out a testimonial. I had a conversation with Irene Stella, who's known Phillip since 2007. She worked with him collectively on the M&S project, and she said these few points about him which I thought were really, really good. She said to me that she worked with him in 2007, and they kept in touch, became friends, and have worked together solidly through to 2015 from Phillip's own business, which is Digital Fabrique. It's his own digital transformation consultancy, and from doing pitches together, strategy, forming teams, the rest of it. But she said that he's a great guy, he's dynamic, intelligent, knowledgeable, he's academically solid and sound. He's got the ability to effectively communicate from the C-level suite to middle management and beyond if need be. He's able to connect the dots in programs, and he instills confidence, and he carries the audience throughout that transformation journey, which I think is really key to getting a job done, and to kind of keeping that team, alongside you and supporting you. And he's a lovely guy, he's approachable, and he's very well measured. So that's from Irene Stella, and she's very well recognised in the same field as you. So what do you think to that?
I'll pay her later.
How much do you pay her? Do you know what I mean?
No, she's great. I thank her for those compliments, to be quite honest. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm
very modest man, being very modest there, Phillip. By the sound of it, being very modest. Superb. So what are you up to? What are you doing now then? What are you up to? I mean, was I right in my description in terms of what you've done and what you've achieved and working in that sector? Did I hit the nail on the head?
I think you did. I mean, it's been obviously a tough year, and we'll go into that with regards to COVID-19, as we all know. But in terms of what I'm doing now, I'm continuing to invest in the business, involved in the business, as you already mentioned before, Ian. So digital transformation is my niche. So I continue to use my previous experience. You touched upon a few of those before, most recently River Island.
Okay.
Hopefully just give clients the best possible service and results from me and all the associates I'm lucky to work with.
Right, okay, fine. So how did the retail or e-commerce become a niche for you? How did you because obviously digital transformation, but why and how did the the retail side become a niche?
So, I thought about this question just with regards to digital transformation, dotcom, and I can break it down into three distinct phases, and I'm talking personally through my career, and I've been working in this world for a very long time. Hopefully I don't show it with regards to my age, but a very long time, so 20 plus. So if I was to break it down to into three phases, the first phase, as we all know, was a dotcom bubble around 2000.
Yep.
And we all know there was a huge industry buzz around e-commerce and the dotcom boom. And companies were trying to dip their toe into the water with regards to e-commerce. in those early days, dotcom was treated as a separate entity to the core of the business, often with different operating models, different price points, and different competitors. So I remember working for Kingfisher and Comet at the time. When the dotcom industry pretty much accelerated, Kingfisher decided to start up a division called eKingfisher, which was the digital part of their business. So for those who don't know, Kingfisher own B&Q, and for those who are old enough to remember, Comet.
Well. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So when I look at to kind of put everything online, like the computers, audio.
Yeah, well, it was just seen as a possible phase, and
really just a phase. I didn't think it was
at those times.
Wow,
yeah,
wow, amazing.
So it was treated completely separate from the core of the business. So
dipping their toe in the water, so to speak.
Literally. So the head office was set up in London. It was a complete different organizational structure from Kingfisher or from the companies it owned, such as B&Q and Comet.
Is that because, sorry to interject, but I mean, just
no,
the scene, sorry to interject, but is that because there wasn't many people who had PCs at home, the internet hadn't really taken off? Is that why it wasn't? Because obviously right now, if you're going to sell anything, your online proposition is going to be key. Is that because I weren't sure how it was going to go?
I think it was the latter. So they wasn't sure how it was going to go. So yeah, year 2000, so the internet had taken off, but in terms of e-commerce transactions, it wasn't really a big thing. So to put it into some sort of perspective, dotcom at those times around 5%, 4% of total revenue for the company. So it was nothing, to be quite frank. The smartphones hadn't really taken off at that time. People dipped in with TV shopping. So a lot of companies were just trying different things, but I think the main thing is it was treated as a separate business. Wow. Effectively. Price points differed, competitors differed as well from the core market. So yeah, it was very different. So that was, I call it the phase one of the dotcom boom. And we know some of it bust, and obviously there was a lot of money going into dotcom at the time. But obviously, as we all know now, the bubble bursts, but it didn't stop the dotcom proliferation. Yeah,
and exactly. Good point.
I think the next 10 years, so that was 2000 to 2000, and let's say 10, just to put a time frame on it. Then I think the second phase kind of morphed in, which is around 2010, and the buzzwords of multi-channel started to kick in with regards to retail and e-commerce. And multi-channel was an interesting concept, because as e-commerce evolved over the decade or so since the dotcom, the shift on emphasis became multi-channel rather than treating dotcom as a separate entity and a separate business. So businesses started to wake up to the fact that consumers didn't see the web or the call center or your stores, if you had stores, as a separate sub-business, but as a single entity. And what I mean by that is a single brand. So as a customer, I don't care whether I'm shopping online or whether I'm using a phone to place my order or going straight into store. Your brand is your brand.
Yeah, okay.
So the focus became centralizing those services. So we started to see a shift from different price points, i.e. cheaper prices online versus in store.
Yeah.
We started to see a more of a ubiquitous service proposition to customers. So, whether you're in store, whether you're on the web or using the phones, there's an expectation from customers that the service will be the same, i.e. represent your brand, and the pricing and promotions would be the same. So I suppose that I call that the rise of the multi-channel. So, ubiquitous service, having price points that are the same irrespective of your channel, i.e. your brand, irrespective of the channel you shop, is the same. So that, I suppose, was the second phase of the digital revolution. And then the last phase, which is I suppose the phase that we're in at the moment, was the shift towards, as people know, the buzzword of omnichannel, which AKA is digital transformation.
Right. Okay.
And this phase, what we're in at the moment, and the phase that started probably 10 years ago, is probably the most intangible phase we're facing.
Right.
The other two phases had clear, defined goals and a heavy emphasis on technology. So, you set up your website, you ensure that your systems are in place to allow multiple promotions, etc. The omni-channel phase, and aka digital transformation phase, is more of a framework based around broad principles,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a tangible goal.
Right. Okay.
And it's based on a unified and truly integrated shopping experience, agnostic to channel. And what I mean by that is it's an attempt to ensure that no matter which part of the business you're in, not just the e-commerce platform or your apps or your call center, that the processes that you put in place are defined not through your channel, but horizontally across the organization. So by that, I mean, it ensures a single view. So a lot of companies...
Give me an example of that.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of companies started to realize they needed to have a truly integrated digital experience, irrespective of where you are within the organization, internally or externally. So
pick a company. So from a listener's point of view, pick okay, so JD Sports, would that be a good one to pick again, or to
JD Sports would be good. So I'll give you an example of three different types of omni-channel experience. So single view of customer. So no matter if you shop online or on the app or website or in store, or you phone for your order, you have, as a business, a single view of that customer. So you do not segregate your channels and say, well, that customer, I'm only going to track them because they were online. We all know that we tend to research online, go into store, view, physically handle those products, and then probably go back online to order it.
You'll do it, yeah. Definitely.
That's what we do. That's our behavior.
That's very common behavior, definitely.
So therefore, you cannot look at channels in isolation. You need to look at it homogeneously. You need to look at it holistically. And you need to understand that the customer will start in one channel and end up in another channel and probably come back to that channel. So you need a single view of that customer's behavior.
So go online, look at Jay. I like those trainers. Right, let me go and have a look at them in the store. Let me try them on. And then I go shopping around the mall where I am. I don't really want to buy them and carry them with me. I'm just going to get them online, and so then I go home and I get them online. So that's a typical journey we're talking about, right?
Precisely that.
Yeah.
And that's single view of customer.
Okay.
And then you've got from a organizational perspective, single view of stock. So let's take JD Sports as an example. So they've got a number of different retail stores or retail shops. Customers are ordering online, customers are ordering on the apps, customers are probably ordering on the phone. And how do you ensure that your stock is put into the right place and meet the customer demand, whether it's online or within several hundred outlets? In order to be able to make those decisions, you need to be able to understand demand, forecasting, and understand where to put your stock at the right time, at the right place to sell to the right customer. So, retailers started thinking about single view of stock, single view of inventory. I want to be able to put my stock out to where there is demand. I don't care if it's online. I don't care if it's in a store in Watford. I don't care if it's a customer's ordering in Thailand. I don't care. I need a single view of my inventory to ensure I can sell all of my stock to the right customer at the right time.
It's manageable, isn't it? It's not all over the place. It's manageable. It's not all it's not all jumbled up. It's manageable. You can see it. You know what you've got. But that's the headache that you're faced with your role when you go into a company like JD again, as an example, that might be one of the issues that you've got to unravel and fix.
Yeah, and I think it's more from a company perspective and from a customer's perspective. Nobody wants to walk into the store and the customer asking if you've got these particular trainers in this particular size, and the shop says no. When you know that the shop 3 miles down the road has got that stock, or you know that actually your warehouse that delivers your e-commerce orders have got it in stock, why aren't you getting those products into the right store? The demand is there. If you've got a size 10 trainer in Watford that's consistently selling out, but actually in, I don't know, let's say Luton, that they never sell out in that particular trainer and that particular size, why aren't you using technology to say, actually, there's too much demand in Luton, we need to relocate that stock to Watford, because it's satisfying the customer's needs. And from a business point of view, you're selling the most you can possibly sell.
Yeah, optimizing
optimizing stock, right? So that's all about. So that's I suppose the other pillar of omnichannel. But the third is a single view of product. So consistency. So whether you are on Instagram, whether you're on the web, whether you're in store, doesn't matter your channel. People want consistency. I want to know the product. I want you to speak about the product in a consistent tone. I want to know a product is a product, and therefore its attributes is the same, irrespective. And this is an internal issue more than an external issue.
Right.
There's nothing more frustrating about talking about a product from one channel, let's say the web, and it's described differently in a different channel.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Because it causes inefficiencies within the organization. And again, you know, retailers particularly understood and do understand actually these are causing us inefficiencies. There's too many emails, there's too many conversations going on, because actually we do not have the same definition of what a product is online versus what a product is in store.
Right. So what you're talking about right now, this pain point, is this like a massive issue right now? It's
a huge issue. It's a huge issue, and it's an inefficiency issue. So as we know at the moment, competition is fierce. Nobody wants a business that's inefficient.
Yeah, you want to be streamlined, slick as possible.
Streamlined. You want to be quick to market. You want to be talking the same language, irrespective of somebody works on the web or somebody works in the store. So these, I suppose, are the big challenges, and I suppose retailers' articulation of these principles of omnichannel. But what I've been talking about is, I suppose, tangible examples of digital transformation. But I think the biggest, and I think this is where a lot of companies are facing their challenge, it isn't the technology per se or the internal processes, it's the cultural change. So it's not technology, it's internal processes,
internal culture,
and internal culture. It's processes and culture. Yeah,
right.
And this is what makes transformation, as we're talking about now. So when people talk about omni-channel or transformation, the complexity isn't the technology. In the first two phases, it was technology, like get to grips with understanding what digital technology is. This phase, when we talk about true integration, the difficulty is internal processes and cultural change. And I think that's where we are right now.
Okay, and I mean, the cultural change could be from the C-level suite, where it could be individuals that have been there for like 40 years, and they know digital transformation. They think, oh yeah, great, digital's great, we need to be more digitized. But when it actually comes to pushing a button and saying, okay, fine, let's change, do you see typically that those type of individuals at the C-level that have been in a company for 30, 40 years or whatever, they can sometimes bottleneck the processes of that digital change happening? Is that?
Yeah. So I think the biggest, if I talk you through the, I suppose the typical transformation process, and I think it will come to light in terms of
do it.
So when I say that digital transformation is complex because of process change and cultural change, and alongside technology, what I mean is that the entire organizational structure needs to change. So
Right.
digital is not just seen as a separate vertical as it was in the early days of dotcom and multi-channel. It was seen as this thing on the side. Yeah, digital needs to run horizontally across an organization. And this means, to your point, means changing long-established processes and technology, yeah, which can feel uncomfortable for many. So you mentioned the C-suite. If I've got a supply chain and I've utilized and leveraged that supply chain the same way I have for the last 30 to 40 years, and somebody comes across and goes, well, actually, why don't you try something different?
Yeah.
It's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the cultural change I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And therefore, this whole call around cultural awakening, organization needs to understand today that actually the C-levels and the way we shopped 30, 40 years has changed, and it's changed rapidly. Customers today, and you and I know that 10, 15 years ago, you're talking about web technology. It was like, great, I've got a phone, but all of a sudden you've got smartphones. All of a sudden you've got, 5G coming in. All of a sudden, actually, you've got, the rise of Snapchat, Instagram, and all of these social media platforms. We as a society are evolving rapidly. And for companies need to understand, and this is the hardest point, is that actually, how do I adapt my organization for this rapidly changing society that we live in at today? How can I change an organization that's 10, 15,000 employees and turn that ship, as quick as possible? And we all know tankers, if you turn that wheel, it will only move so fast. So you've got to find innovative ways of turning these big tankers around quicker.
It's good analogy. And also, you're going to have the fear of thinking, well, while this massive tanker is turning around, by the time we get 3/4 of the way around 270 degrees, say,
it's changed again.
Something's changed. So
exactly.
So that's what I said to you a little while ago. Is it, people, are they kind of scared to think, well, press a button on doing this, and then they get 3/4 of the way around? Well, you said it was right. That responsibility. I mean, it's you're absolutely right. It's a massive change. I'm chatting to someone about this today actually, and he worked for a massive. I can't name the company he worked for. He's on a contract for 18 months or so. Huge oil and gas company, and spending billions of pounds on projects, and then instead of pressing a button to go, they would turn around and say, no, we're not going to go ahead with it after spending 18 months worth of, because that hesitancy on many levels, but a lot of it was like in terms of change. Technology's changed. Is it the right thing? And also the cultural change as well. But a lot of it was the hesitancy from technology evolving so rapidly that I didn't know
where to start or what to do. It's paralysis.
Exactly.
Right? It's paralysis that happens. And I always describe transformation in, I suppose, 2 blocks. So understand the problem, and you'd articulated the problem quite correctly. Businesses need to be efficient and they need to be malleable in order to adapt to, I suppose, an ever-changing state. And what that means is, how do you continuously adapt without investing, as you mentioned, billions of pounds for the world to change again? And I think this is where organizations tend to fail, and you end up into a cycle of pontification. So 2 key things. So goals need to be measurable. So you need tangible goals. From a transformation perspective, you need to be able to clearly articulate what are you trying to achieve. And from an implementation point of view, you need as a company to be able to articulate those measurable goals into a set of initiatives that will meet those goals.
Okay, and timeframes as well, perhaps, or
and timeframes as well. But I think the biggest thing about timeframes is, if you're talking about time boxing initiative, is how do you test a particular initiative against that goal? And what I mean by that is, I may have 3 or 4 different ways to achieve the company goal. Yeah, there may be 3 or 4 different ways of doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a human being, and intuitively, we all know that actually my feeling, based on the evidence provided, without knowing, my hypothesis is this particular goal has got more chance than this particular goal. I don't know it, but I believe it. Yeah,
Right.
and that's the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
people try to, model hypothetical situations and try to sell solutions to say this particular initiative will meet that goal that meets the company's vision.
Based on data or based on hypothesis?
Hypothesis, yeah. But without data, you cannot go to the board and say, I know this for a fact that it's going to work. Because you don't. It's a guess. It's a gamble. Right? So therefore, you need to then spend your energy not trying to convince the board that this hypothesis is the correct and spend billions of dollars and 2-3 years on it. You need to be able to go back to the board and say, I want to test this hypothesis, and I want to test it in a lean and agile way. And what I mean by that is, can I put a proof of concept together, that is inexpensive contextually to a 2-year project that's going to take 3 months to gather the data to prove or disprove the hypothesis. Yeah. And the great thing about that, if you've got a measurable goal and you have a hypothesis to meet that goal that you can measure against, you can do a proof of concept in a department. You can do a proof of concept in the north of England. Yeah, right. You don't need to roll it out enterprise level. All you need to do is do enough to prove or disprove that hypothesis. Just enough. Yeah, a concept. Because two things will happen there. So with this, for argument's sake, something that would have taken 2 years to implement through a proof of concept takes 2 months. Yeah, so relatively inexpensive. And it will either prove your hypothesis and then you go deeper. So therefore you think, I will do this 18 months project now.
Yeah.
Or you pivot. You pivot to the next initiative that could meet that goal, your plan B.
Oh, okay.
Because you could have several, right?
To see which one's better.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the purpose of, I suppose, when people talk about agile, this is exactly what it's about. It's, I tried this, it failed, I moved on to this. I'm going to try this in a, take a very thin slice and try to prove or disprove the hypothesis on this particular point. And you go through, just like we do in life, you try things, it either works, great, you go down that route, or it fails. Guess what? That didn't work, I'm going to try something else. And it's not taking on this beast, it's breaking this beast up into small components that can be tested and measured and proved whether or not you're going down the right path or not. And that's how you need to treat transformation.
Superb, man. Beautiful. Thank you, man. Thank you.
I'm ranting.
No, that's really good. I mean, I've touched on it with you before, but I mean, that was really, really clear. I think a 5-year-old kid can kind of get an understanding of that in terms of the processes. And I think somebody listening or watching as well, who's not from the space, can kind of pick up on that. Very, very well put. And I mean, so you touched on Arcadia, which is for 2013, if I'm right. And huge project. I mean, was it an absolute monster of a project to work on for them? Because I mean, obviously they've got 4 or 5 major brands, Burton's, and there's
8 at the time. Yeah, and we've lost BHS, haven't they? So I mean that was a monster. It was great because I worked in Arcadia as a permanent and also was taken on by Ian Grabina to come back as a consultant. So he supported my desire to start the company, and for the reason. So he was actually my first client, actually. So Arcadia was the first client. And, you know, Arcadia is a complex organization. As you mentioned, there's multi-brands, different sizes, different demographics, etc. But they all share a common digital platform.
Right, okay.
So, you know, you've got to be able to balance the needs of one against the needs of the other. So the complexity, I think you mentioned it before, is people and, you know, trying to drive change for the best of the whole company rather than individual brands. So to answer your question, hugely complex because of the organizational structure is complex.
Yeah.
And therefore, and trying to drive the organization to a common goal, where at an individual brand level, their goals may be slightly different, but trying to align that to the same vision was the complexity you faced with Arcadia. But it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot how to navigate, you know, how to deal and to build empathy, true empathy, and understanding actually, you know, this particular brand's got this particular problem. Firstly, this brand over here has got this particular problem, and you know, and understanding. And what I do is immerse myself within a company, because in order to help a company, you've got to understand the company and not just pay lip service, but understand it to drive it forward. But
gotcha.
That was Arcadia experience.
Wow, interesting. Massive conglomerate. Wonderful. Okay, and then so most, like I say, challenging program that you've worked on, would that be Arcadia again?
No. So Arcadia was challenging for the reasons I mentioned, but no, I think to answer your question, I think the most challenging or interesting program I think I worked, in fact I know I worked on as part of my company, was with Ideal World, which is a home shopping channel that Create and Craft. So I was brought in to launch a new cable channel in the US.
Yeah, I've seen this. Have you got this on your LinkedIn profile?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was brought in, contracts had already been signed for a launch, and you know, the definition of launching a brand new TV channel in the US, when I really understood the brief, was setting up a complete new trading company in the US. So a complete legal entity in the US that did not exist. Yeah.
Right.
At the start of this program. So that entailed setting up not just the company and its name that hadn't been defined when I arrived at Ideal World, but its supply chain, its call center, its website for the US, its apps for the US, its call center, which was in Singapore, and all of it, the whole, it was a new business, right? Yeah. And it had to be set up from inception to completion, contractually, in 9 months.
Right.
So that, I think, by far was the most interesting, most complex, most intense work I've done. But it was amazing. That was an amazing experience because it opened your eyes beyond e-commerce, beyond retail in terms of infrastructure, operations, operate everything. And, but it also shows what can be achieved when you've got a great leadership team. So Ideal World had a great leadership team. They were completely focused on this launch, and you had access to the whole C-suite. And it's amazing, and it shows you when a company has a focus and everyone behind that company is on the same page, you can launch a new company, which we did.
Oh, well done. Fantastic.
So, I mean, that was amazing. So that's was
that like a really, really enjoyable experience as well? Challenging.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I worked with some great people. Some of these guys I'm still in touch with.
Right.
One of those I was going to actually ask for a recommendation from, actually, because she's turned into a good friend of mine as well, and and now a president of a different company. But
superb. Yeah. What part of America was that, by the way? What part? Where were you?
The Midwest. So
Okay,
the
gotcha.
launch was in the Midwest, but obviously it was a global launch because it was on the free-to-air TV channels, and
Right.
so for those who don't know, home shopping world on television is, you've got the presenter, they talk about their products,
Sure.
you phone or you go online, and
But it's big in the States. I mean, it's big here now, but I mean, it's I was out there.
It's massive in the States.
Yeah, I was out there 97 to 2002. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Dedicated part of your cable satellite network is all
to the
online shopping. Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was that was great.
Superb. What's your dream program? Would you say? What would you want to do if it was a dream sort of project or program?
That's an interesting one. So look, things have changed as we know, and as we're speaking at the moment over the last few months. So in light of COVID-19 and George Floyd incident, it's changed us as a society. So me personally, I'd like to work with a truly innovative global organization which focuses on not just technology but true cultural change.
So diversity, cultural change.
Yeah, exactly. So not afraid, internal cultural change. So not afraid to challenge the internal structures top down and really understand the power of diversity and democratizing the structure to allow every part of the organization to be involved in those goals. Because as long as people know the goals, it's amazing what people can achieve.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And and those organizations and those type of companies that are truly looking to change and truly looking to transform, it's bigger than just commercial. It becomes a
technology.
Yeah, it becomes a blueprint for every other company to say, right, this is what a modern company and that reflects a modern society looks like at the moment.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And I think you're absolutely right. Obviously, COVID, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. To see what companies are actually authentic in being, genuine about making those changes. From the top down, it's difficult for some people to approach. I mean, some individuals from the white population may not be racist in any way, shape, or form. But some of their peers might be, and they may know that, so they're going to struggle to address it because there's no one else in those C-suite positions of colour. So it's going to be a real good test for some companies to really show their genuine commitment to change. So no, that's really, really good point. Really, really interesting.
I also think it goes even beyond that. It's more for me around. So, if you're selling a product or a service, your product and service has got to represent the society that we live in. Yeah. So the marketplace that you're selling to.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And if internally you do not reflect your marketplace, how are you possibly going to sustain, true innovation, connect to those markets? Yeah. So, companies, we can talk about it from a social, dutiful point of view, but also from a viability point of view, it's changed. The new generation that's coming up, it's not just about promotion, price points, bargains, environment's got to play, a part to play in this.
Yeah.
Do you want equality and do you want fair trade? So these elements that were, 10, 15 years ago were talked about as fluffy and that's great, but fantastic. But, customers all about price and price points and promotions. The world we live in the society that we, that will represent the buying power beyond 2020 are interested in a lot more. Yeah.
It's almost like the consumers become smart. The consumer knows the background of a company.
Yeah, exactly.
They know whether they're, I don't want to buy from them because I know what they're, this information is available to the consumer for them to say, well, you know what, I've got a choice. I'd have to buy from you. I know that you're not authentic to that brand or whatever, so
precisely.
true values behind it.
True value. Yeah, exactly. So that's my desire. So yeah.
Nice, nice, superb, fantastic, fantastic. That's going to be part of your mission going forward, which is good to know.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
brilliant. Okay. What is, in your opinion, what's the best piece of, it's a bit of a techie question for the techie out there, but what's the best piece of retail tech that you have seen or implemented in the last, say, 12 to 18 months?
Oh, that's an interesting. So I'm going to be a bit more. No, that's fine. I'm going to be a bit more generic and talk about two different elements. So I think for retail, the biggest challenge that's facing retail at the moment is supply chain. Yeah. So supply chain optimization. So demand forecasting, in particular. So this is using AI, machine learning, to predict where your stock should be. Yeah, I think I'm not going to name individual companies, but that piece of technology and that technology is critical, I think, for the survival of retail.
Okay, is it like a SAP type piece of kit?
It's all it's not so. It's all a SaaS. Yeah, it's all SaaS. It's all SaaS. It's all in the cloud, etc.
Okay,
but I think the fundamental shift change is actually using smart technology, artificial intelligence, to be able to analytics, basically, to be able to predict customer behaviors and make informed choices. So I think that's critical. I think the two other ones I would say is visual search. So visual search. Particularly with COVID-19, when the absence of us going into stock, so your ability to see something you're wearing and be able to search for it. So these technologies exist, and whether companies have implemented it, or some of them have implemented in various degrees, but I think visual search is going to be, or is an important and will be an important facet going forward.
Right, visual search. Okay.
Yeah. And then data insights, and that's a real techie infrastructure. So without data, real insights, you cannot make informed decisions.
No, that's right. It's so key now, isn't it? Data. It's absolutely.
Yeah. So investment in data and technology that allows you to leverage data and make sense of data, which is the artificial intelligence.
To articulate so it actually makes tangible sense to what.
Turn it into information rather than data.
Right. Okay. Good. Fantastic.
That's it.
Okay. Good. Superb. Now, I want to kind of get into I want to find out a bit about you. Okay. A bit of fun. Find out about you. And so there's a little quick fire round that I've got. So, what's in your iPod right now? What are you listening to?
Oh, that's a good question. So what am I listening to? I've listened to lots. I've been listening to Nas recently.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm quite an old school person. I like my hip hop and R&B.
Yeah.
So,
do you like Nas? And do you like? Didn't he collaborate with Damian Marley as well? Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah.
He did an album with Kanye West a few years back, and I've been listening to that quite recently as well. So
yeah, he's good. Okay, cool. Football, rugby, basketball.
Right. So,
what's your favourite?
I would say so. Watching football.
Okay.
Playing was basketball, being 6'4".
Right.
But I haven't played basketball. Friends of mine will laugh because the last time I picked up a basketball probably was when I was 15. And
Me too, actually, probably. And I'm 6'10". You know what I mean?
I know, you dwarf me. I can't believe it.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely giant. But my son just dribbles all around me. I mean, he's 16, 6'4", and he loves basketball. So he just takes the mickey out of me with a basketball. Do you know what I mean? But But yeah, it's just in my jeans, man. It's a big Benjamin jeans. But yeah, 6'4". That's still, that's not short.
I thought it was pretty good. It's like
it's good. I'm just a bloody freaky giant. Do you know what I mean?
No, so I'm football. So I'm a couch watcher of football. I would say Arsenal, one of that.
Me too. Okay, superb, wonderful. Okay, and what's your favourite tipple? Are you beer or wine? I mean,
wine. I think red wine. So
red wine.
I like a Rioja or a
Yes.
Malbec in terms of wine. I went off beer in terms of drinking a lot of beer, probably about 6-7 years ago, when I just realised that my weight just kept on just increasing, and I thought, actually, I need to change my tipple.
Yeah.
So wine became it, and brandy.
Brandy. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, yeah. I've cut back on beer only the last few weeks, because I mean, beer belly, because we had a few weeks of nice weather back to back, like 2 or 3 weeks, and the whole COVID scenario as well. I was drinking way too much beer, so I put that right back, and I'm on the gin, drinking more gin.
Good summer drink.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Good summer drink, absolutely, without a doubt. And what would you choose? I mean, what's your favourite? Bentley or a Aston, for example, or Ferrari? Do you like cars?
Aston. Oh yeah, I do like cars.
Yeah.
I think it'd be an Aston.
For the Aston, yeah. Okay,
DB9, cool. DB7. I think that would be my car of choice.
Well, the new one, the one that's out now, yeah. The one that's out. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm more of a Bentley guy, I think. I don't know where that's. Yeah, I don't know. I think because of I think from the size. I don't think I'll get in an Aston. I think
it's a good point, actually. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the legs are just not enough, but I think there's definitely room in a Bentley, so I'll probably be all right. I'm hoping, not that I've got one. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And skiing or beach holiday?
Beach.
Yeah, me too, man. 100%.
Beach. Yeah, always beach. I like warm weather. I like doing nothing. When I switch off, I like to switch off properly.
Yeah.
That's me.
Mate, we're so
always
similar.
Beach.
I'm exactly the same, man. Fantastic. And that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it, really, in terms of where we are. And I mean, is there anything that I can, anything that you want to say in terms of where the industry's going, or just anything at all you want to add?
So no, I think what I'd say. I think to conclude for me, we talked about COVID-19, but for me, and I think we talked about it already, I'm optimistic about the future, and in terms of that organisation truly want to change and recognise that there's a few of us around with war wounds. I think you mentioned war wounds at the beginning, who can help navigate through these difficult times. So I genuinely believe this is a real opportunity for long-lasting change. So, and I think it's an exciting time, scary time, but I think it's an exciting time to really shift, change, and level up. So
definitely. I mean, I think I said that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I feel the same way. I think that the pain that we're going through now, and hopefully it's going to come out. We're going to come out the other side, and I think it'll be a different world. And it's one of those things, you kind of go through pain to then realize the benefit. That's how I'm, the benefit in the future. That's what I'm hoping on anyway. And but yeah, I've had to kind of pivot my business. Hence why we do this podcast. I think it's something that it might take off and grow, and could be, who knows? But I would not have done this. You and I wouldn't be speaking right now. You know what I mean? So, and it's been great. You know what I mean? Just get to know you.
Get to know new people. Yeah.
Exactly. Wonderful. Well, again, just want to say thank you for being one of my guests on the Digital Hub. I've loved having you on. I mean, I'm so looking forward to it, because real template of a digital transformation expert who's done it. Worn the t-shirt. And also your niche in a nice niche as well. That's kind of quite exciting. It's a retail sector that we all dib and dabble in. We all buy stuff, and so wonderful. Just want to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you as well, Ian. It's been great speaking to you. So so I look forward to catching up.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we'll hopefully get you back on again, before too long, and kind of see how things are once we kind of get out the other side of this pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be good to kind of get you back on again. Wonderful.
Super. Right.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Take it easy, buddy.
See you later.
Take care.
Mate.